All right. So, chapter six question is: as the principal of a school, you assign staff members to supervise both students arriving at school in the morning and leaving school in the afternoon. Discuss when students become your responsibility in the morning and when does your responsibility end after school. And address also after school activities and discuss how you, as the principal, ensure proper supervision using assigned staff members.
Well, to start, I think it like that first point there, right underneath the question, is that there is a duty of care, um, pretty much at all times when students are present at the school, whether that is 15 minutes, 30 minutes before school, as long as parents are notified that there is a specific drop-off time, and then that uh, there is a wanted time for them to be picked up, so that way we are not exceeding our contract hours, and so that way supervision doesn't have to be continuing on and ongoing.
I
Yeah,
think
I
with
think
that, it's important, sorry, Lexi,
no, you're okay.
it's important to make sure that we have like policies and procedures in place and that, it's discussed in the handbook, the time. So it's not just like, oh, what time is it? And parents are guessing. Along with that, I just think it's important for those members who are doing the supervising to also have those list of guidelines, expectations that they need to follow as well during that time. One of the administrators that we had talked to on the webinar really brought up how things need to be black and white and very clear. And I think that has to be important when it comes to supervision of kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think starting in the morning, yeah, as soon as they reach school grounds, I mean, they're your responsibility now. Parents are going to leave. So you have to make sure you know where they're at and they're accounted for. And just like Alexa said, making it black and white. If they're coming into the front doors, whoever is there, making sure they have a list or some sort of way to kind of check kids in. I know we have kids who kind of enter, all kids enter through the same door, but then after there, they may go to different spots. Some are walking outside, some are eating breakfast. So kind of just knowing where kids are going after they enter the building, because as soon as they touch school grounds, they're your responsibility now.
So we have a before school and after school program, but parents have to actually like sign up for that. Um, and not every kid can be a part of that. They have limited spots. Um, so those kids can come in a little bit early. But if you're not a part of that program, then you have to wait until we open the front doors, which they unlock at 7:30, I want to say. Um, and then there's everybody at the beginning of the year gets specific duties assigned to them where they're supposed to be before and after school. And all the kids in our building have to stay either in the gym or in the commons area. And then after the beginning of the year, they'll usually let them do like library. They get passes to go and hang out in the library. But again, only so many kids can do that.
Within the junior high and high school, our kids have more freedoms when it comes to morning and after school, um, just because the maturity level is higher than the younger grades. So when we are assigning supervision spots, we do it on a rotational basis. At the beginning of the school year, the principals send out a supervision calendar, and then people sign up for that. I want to say you have to sign up for 3 or 4 days a semester for supervision, whether that's morning or afternoon. And then as a school safety team, they identified, I'm going to call it hotspots, kind of, where staff should be standing so that way they can see multiple hallways at once and um, have be able to see almost any vantage point that they need to, whether that's the front doors going down the hallways or down in the cafeteria. Like you guys said, some people are going to be eating breakfast. Some people are just going to be walking the halls. One thing that our kids aren't allowed to do in the mornings is use the gym, um, just because of uh, one, safety reasons, and two, just to keep it clean. But we do sign up on a rotational basis like that.
Well, and I just feel like as teachers, like on our contracted time, kids are in the building, it's all of our responsibilities to like supervise students. I do know like in the morning, teachers want that time. Like kids aren't supposed to be in our room until 8:05 or whatever. But I mean, it is still our responsibility if there are kids on our side of the building, like keeping an eye on them, making sure everyone's where they need to be. And I just think that's just important too. It's a part of our duties.
I think a lot of that goes back, again, everything in education is starting to go back to the relationships you build. We have a similar policy where if you don't want kids to be in your room, the earliest they can be there is 8:05. But I think if you have strong relationships with your kids, I open my classroom up right away at like 7:15. Just because I have kids that get here at 7:15, I'm usually here at 7, and they'll come in, sit down in my room and eat breakfast. I feel comfortable leaving my classroom knowing that they're going to leave my belongings alone and they have a place that they're comfortable with being.
Yeah, I think each school, I mean, it's going to look a little different when kids are coming in the morning and leaving in the afternoon. But especially from the administrative position, I think you have to know and have those duties assigned because if something goes wrong, you can't be like, well, who was doing that? Who was supposed to do that? Like there can be questions. You have to know this person was assigned, like I don't know. I think that leaves the questions a little bit easier when something does go wrong, then you know exactly who to go ask what happened.
Alexis, I think that goes back to your point. I think it was Alexis that said it, that one of the administrators in a previous webinar said that you want to make things as black and white as possible. So that way that point of negligence that they talked about in chapter 6 is you're eliminating that as much as possible. So that way there's no question about who needs to cover bus duty in the morning or who needs to cover bus duty in the afternoon, who has recess duty, any of those things, lunchroom duty. Make it as black and white as possible and communicate it well.
I really like one of our administrators for the we have our paras do a lot of the in the morning supervision and at the end of the school day. She does a really good job of making a checklist of guidelines and expectations that she expects. And at the beginning of the school year, she attaches it to like the back of their schedule that they have for the day. But then the really cool thing is that she continuously goes back and reviews them and kind of like holds it. I mean, it holds them accountable. They can see, like, oh, yeah, I need to do a better job of maybe not being on my phone, or I need to make sure that, no kids are going out that door unless there's someone there watching, whatever it happens to be. But I just think it's good to review and not just like at the beginning of the year, this is what you're expected, and then just leave it. I just think it holds people accountable in that sense too.
Ashley, you had said that you guys have was it a before or afternoon student program?
We have both. They call it Kids Connection, and it's goes, I want to say people kids can come starting at like 6 in the morning, and then they are done by like 5 in the afternoon, just for like early drop off or late pickup.
I
Um,
would assume you guys
that
would have a
is,
separate
sorry.
handbook for that.
That is actually run by our foundation. So it's kind of a separate program. So they have a department or a head of the program within our building, and that person is in charge of assigning their workers duty where they will be. Usually, again, it's just the gym and the commons area, but they sit right by our front door. Our front door is the only one that's open in the morning. And then we have buses come to the back side of the school where there's usually staff members waiting to help the bus kids in. But the Kids
Yeah.
Connection program, they sit right by the door. They let their kids into the building only, and they check them off when they get there to say who's here today. And it works the same at the end of the day when they are dismissed from class. They sign the kids into that program and they sign them out when their parents come and pick them up. But it's kind of a separate entity within the school.
We have a similar program. It's called Kids Club, so very close to what your guys is, but ours is ran through our elementary school. What I found interesting about that is that they have their own separate handbook. It's similar to what our elementary handbook is that all parents sign, but within that Kids Club handbook, they do specify drop-off times and what time and areas that the parents want to be at. In the book, it did talk about having whether it was before school or after school drop off or pickup times, having parents sign off on that. However, that still doesn't mean that you can like if it's 5 o'clock, pickup time's 5 o'clock and you're not there at 5 o'clock, that doesn't mean that staff can just walk away. Um, Even though they've signed off on it and they know what that pickup time is then, we still have a duty of care to make sure that those kiddos are safe.
Yeah, kind of speaking on that, I know this last year, so we had a fire in our school.
Oh,
Everyone
cool.
yeah, it was crazy.
Was it a
Luckily,
real one?
yeah, yeah, like flames coming out of the roof.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, so everyone got out, it was fine. But we use walkie-talkies anytime. So if you're on recess duty, you're taking a walkie, you're on after school duty outside, you're taking, so everyone always has
Yeah.
walkie-talkies. So that was really helpful. So when we got everyone outside, then we had the walkie-talkies to be like, where should we go? But then yeah, getting parents to come pick up kids, because I think we evacuated at like 1:30, I think something. It was something like that. But yeah, to get parents to come pick up kids, yeah, we were there past contract, and you're trying to call, I don't know, an emergency phone number and no one's answering. It was kind of a mess. But yeah, it's a situation like 3:45 contract time's up. I didn't walk away, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just kind of like when we're at after school activities. You know, if you go to the game, go to a basketball game or whatever. Yeah, there's administration that's typically there supervising, but I just feel like as teachers, it's our duty to like, you see a kid doing something they shouldn't or whatever. I mean, I feel like we just take care of that or help take care of that. I mean, we don't just like, oh, sorry, we're at a game, we're off duty, you know?
Even more so if you're coaching, if you are, say, if you're an assistant or a head coach of a junior high basketball team, and even though you're telling kids that we're going to be back to Wayne by 7 o'clock, make sure you're calling your parents at 6:45 to come and get you. You still have a duty of care, even if it's 7:30, 7:45, 8 o'clock, to make sure that that kid stays safe. And especially in the winter months, like you are staying with the kids or letting them into the school if it's too cold. But I don't know if do you guys have any coaching responsibilities?
I do. I'm an assistant broadcasting coach. So our students, that's actually through the high school, which is interesting since I teach preschool. So then getting to know the kids at the high school that I don't get to see daily and run the broadcasting program's interesting. But we have students who work the sporting events. So we run a live stream and we run cameras and run the boards in the football stadium and in the gyms at both of our high schools. So it's interesting to me.
One of the things
I
that
don't know those kids as well. So it's harder. I feel kind of awkward being like, hey, what are you guys doing? Are you being safe over there?
one of the things that we've really tried to hammer on the last few years is um, locker room supervision. Um, I know, like in school activities, we can think of supervising the gym and making sure that kids are getting home safe. But even before practices, just making sure that the locker rooms, if it's like during the school day and the locker rooms don't need to be accessed, those are staying locked. We try, when we are looking at our master schedule, we try to find times for coaches to have like eighth period or end of the day plan time. So that way they can get to the locker room 5-10 minutes before the end of the school day. So that supervision is automatically happening.
Yeah, I also coach. I know it's our policy that if we come back from a game, like coaches are not allowed to leave until the last
Last
kid
kid
is
leaves.
gone. Yeah. So that's just basic. We all just stand there and wait. And sometimes, yeah, it's not fun when you get back from a game at 10:30, 11 o'clock, but that's just, you're not going to leave a kid in this school building. Also about locker room, that's something we have to talk about too. Our head coach is actually a male coaching volleyball. So that's another problem that we run into. So it's kind of the two assistants for both female. It's kind of our job to watch the locker room because obviously he can't just walk in. So before practice, we all kind of stand out there. It also helps that our athletic director, trainer, all of their offices are kind of down there. So there's a lot of people kind of hanging out outside the locker room, so they kind of know better. But yeah, I think the locker room is sometimes a space that gets overlooked that things can kind of go on.
Do you guys have like we have extra duty for the after school activities? So the um athletic directors, secretaries send out a sheet that covers, I want to say like at least a month worth of activities, and we sign up for whatever duty we can cover, which includes like watching doors and making sure kids aren't like walking around in the hallways, um, taking tickets, um, I don't know, different things like that. Do you guys do that at your districts?
We have something similar, like where people are signing up for tickets but on the supervision end, it's mainly just administration. So on that sheet, there'll be certain administrators who are assigned to every event, but not really necessarily staff.
Okay, cool. Wow. I think we have covered everything in here as I'm looking through the talking points. Was there anything else we left out or that we wanted to address?
No, I think we kind of discussed some creative ways to make sure that all supervision is covered. I think the biggest key within supervision is, I think Alexa said it about that webinar, is communication is paramount in that.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.